Okay, so in the last video we did an animated door and it rotated open, but it was all done inside the level blueprint. So in this video, what I'm going to do is take the practices that we just did and we just learned inside the level blueprint. We're going to make a standalone actor blueprint for this. The reason I use actor blueprints over level blueprints quite often is actor blueprints are nice and easily replicated. You can drop in many instances of them and they all act independently of each other. And it means that you can use the same assets across different levels, whereas your level blueprint, your level logic is confined to just that kind of level that you're working on. So if we pop back into Unreal, so we've got our door kind of working here at the minute. I'm just going to remove a couple of things because I was working on the next set of stuff before I did this. So I'm just going to get it real quick. So if we open the level blueprint, this was what we did for the last one. Oh, sorry, this is what we did for the last one. So we had the overlap and it checks if it was player and it did the timeline and then it set the rotation of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that again, but we're going to do it for a separate actor. So we need a new actor blueprint for this before we start. So remember, we right click on a bit of empty space. We can ask to make a basic asset and a blueprint class. From this we choose actor blueprint. So I'm going to call BP underscore rotate door. So from there, what I normally do is just drop it straight in the scene, double click to open it. So from here now we want to start adding in some elements that we can use the script. So we know that we need a static mesh, and that's going to be our door. So you'll notice in the blueprint editor, whenever you drop it in, you need to set it to be which one you're going to use. So from here, we see that we've got the door in there already. So all we did there was click on that and then change it. So this is a real handy option that you can, once you get a little bit more comfortable with Unreal, you can change meshes and stuff, and you can use construction scripts to set different meshes whenever the game boots up. But for now, this is enough for us. So we see now it's sitting inside the game level, and that's fine. So we'll just hit compile just as we go along. So the next thing we need is a box collision. Now, what I'm going to do is, at the minute, you'll notice when I made this, it kind of made it like a child of this. I'm just going to click and drag it on top of there because I want them to be on the same level. And there's a reason for this that I'll kind of show in a second. From here, I'm just going to move it to be in front of the door. So there we can see it sitting there. Same as what I normally do, I'm going to make sure it's not hidden in game, just so it's a little bit easier for debugging. So now with that selected, I can pop into my event graph, I can scroll down on the right hand side, and I can go on component begin overlap. I can ask it to cast to the first person character. So remember, this is just a check to make sure that it's actually the player that's interacting with this. So from there we can do a check if we want. Little print string just saying overlap. So now when I hit play and I walk up to this door, we can see that it's working fine. Okay, so similar to what we did before in the last one, we want to grab a timeline. We're going to call it rotate door TL. So from here, we want to now add this rotation. So we need a reference to that static mesh actor. So we click and drag it in. Now we're going to do it the same way we did before, because we want to have a look at something. So we go set relative rotation. We know before that we split that pin structure. We double clicked in here. We made a new float. So if anyone is struggling to follow this, I recommend you watch the last video because a lot of this was covered in detail there. And we want to set the second value to be 90, and I'm going to make it a little bit quicker, make it 1.5 seconds. I'm going to set my entire timeline to 1.5. And then if I click on these two buttons, so now we can see whenever the timeline starts playing, it's going to play through and it's going to spit us out a value between 0 the whole way up to 90. So we flick back to our event graph and we plug this into Z and we plug it into the update. So just to run through real quick what's meant to happen here. Whenever we overlap, it's going to make sure it's a first person character. When it knows it is, it's going to start playing the timeline. The timeline is going to play through. First frame is going to start on 0 with a value of 0. Last frame is going to be a second and a half later, but it's going to be a value of 90. And then that's going to plug into a set relative rotation. So now if we hit play, and there we go. So we've not set this to kind of auto play back the same way we did before. So we can add that in if we want to, or we can add in the other version that we had, that whenever the player steps out of the box, it reverses the timeline. So we'll do that now. So on end overlap, I just want to show you guys another quick way of doing this. So with this here, we're casting the first person character. Quite often you cast because you want to get values inside there, or you want to access something like the character speed or the ammo count and stuff like that. What I'm going to do is something a little bit different here, just to show you that it still works. So I'm going to ask it for another actor, and I'm going to say get the class. So this is going to give me the class of what the other actor is. Then I'm going to say, is it equal to the first person character? And then if that's true, so we're doing a branch. So remember, these red values are just a boolean, so true or false. If that's true, reverse the timeline. So I just want to kind of do it this way just to show you that there are different methods. There's loads of different ways that you can do this type of scripting. So you can see it's got exactly the same result. Game's running exactly the same speed, but that's just a different way in case you guys wanted to do it. We could still do the cast if we wanted to, or we could replace the cast up here with this, but it's just doing exactly the same thing. So the reason that we've done it like this is now we can replicate this door, similar to what we did with ammo pickup and stuff as well. And all these doors will function the same, but they're all independent of each other. So you notice, like, when I step in this door, it's not affecting that one. And it's a nice reusable script. So I can just repeatedly set this up and drop this into the level as many times as we want. So that, to me, is like the main advantage of using actor blueprints. They can still communicate with each other, and they can communicate with the player and stuff as well, but they're so easily replicated that it saves you a lot of work. So if we had a level that had 15 doors, we would need a lot of copy and pasting in the level blueprint to set up those 15 doors. We'd essentially end up with this over and over again. Whereas now we've set this up once as an actor blueprint, and we can just easily replicate it as we go through the game. So that's just using one collision box, which is fine. But what if we wanted it that when the player exits the door, it closes? So we can really quickly set that up. So all I'm going to do is just click on edit. So we go back in here. So now I want an extra box collider. And we're going to rename this to be box exit. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to say on begin overlap of box exit, we want to run this next bit of the script. Now I need to make sure the box exit is in the right place, because by default it's kind of slapped it at the origin. So you could be a lot more accurate with this. You could obviously give it like the same height values as the other one. So I kind of wanted that the player can kind of step through and then we'll repeat it. So if we look at it, it still works fine. It's going to reverse it. So now if we hit play, step in, open the door. So I've turned off that step out function. Once I step through, closes the door behind me. So that's a real quick way that we can make like a nicely reusable door asset that we can keep kind of calling upon as much as we want. We could drop it in the level, super easily replicated, and it's just doing kind of the same principle as what we did before, but it's it's now in its own standalone kind of container that we can duplicate as much as we want.